What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, coming at you with some Umbra gameplay, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most underappreciated DMRs in Rogue Company, the Bishop. So let's head over and let's talk about it. So as you can see here, I am in the shooting range inside of Rogue Company, and we are going to pick the Bishop up here. So the base Bishop has a body damage of 30, range of 20, mag size of 12, fire rate of 5.35, handling of 36, and a reload time of 2. So if we pick this up, the body shot damage is 30. The headshot damage will be 40, which is a pretty significant headshot damage. 30, 40 at that 20 meter range, 27, 36 at that 30 meter range, 24 and 32 at that 40 meter range. Now, if we go in here and if we look at the upgrade path, rare increases the magazine size and hipfire accuracy. So the magazine size does go from 12 up to 18. For the epic version of the weapon, it reduces the recoil overall and gives it suppressing fire. And for that legendary level, it does increase the damage range and reduces the reticle bloom of the weapon. So if we upgrade this all the way to legendary, of course at 10, we're still going to get 30-40. Over here at 20, we're going to get 30-40. At 30, we're going to get 27 and 36. And at 40, we're going to get 24 and 32, which is about the same as what it was. I'm not exactly sure to what extent it increases the range of the weapon. So if we look at that legendary, it increases the range from 20 up to 24. But if you pair this with something like Gunsmith, especially with someone like Umbra, it does increase the range of the weapon very significantly here. So at that 30 meter, we're doing 30, 40, and at the 40 meter, we're doing 27 and 36. So it does increase it to where you get the full damage output potential with Legendary Gunsmith at that 30 meter range. And then of course at 40, you are only getting hit with that first fall off threshold, which is still going to allow you to do a ton of damage overall. Now, the way that the weapon honestly excels, in my opinion, is the actual accuracy of the hip fire. I mean, whenever I'm just firing it into the wall here, you're getting pretty consistent hip fire shots and a pretty consistent spread overall. Once you couple this, especially with Umbra, since he is the one that has the Bishop by default, with that legendary crack shot and also replenish, you are a force to be reckoned with. So at that 30 meter range, you're doing 46 headshot damage. At that 40 meter range, you're doing 41 headshot damage, and it should continue here, 46, and this should be 46 as well. Umbra and the Bishop is a very deadly combo. Any of the DMRs that have a shorter range cap on them, I know the Bishop has a shorter range cap. I think maybe the MXR has a shorter range cap, can absolutely be exploited to the fullest extent whenever you actually run it with Umbra, with that legendary Gunsmith. And the same for the SMGs, right? I've made a video about how Gunsmith fundamentally breaks the game, and that's exactly why it breaks the game. Now, on to the Bishop. The Bishop is an absolute powerhouse of a DMR, and I think that it is absolutely underappreciated because whenever you look at the statistics for the other DMRs within the game, you have the likes of the D3DI with a 42 body damage. It essentially does a 2-tap headshot. It does have a very significantly slower fire rate, but with the fire rate of the Bishop, it kind of offsets that. I mean, if you're doing 46 headshot damage and you're able to 3-tap someone faster than you're able to 2-tap someone with the D3DI, then it is absolutely deadly. The Bishop kind of fills this weird slot or this weird niche where it's better than a lot of the assault rifles overall. It fires just about as quickly as some of the slower firing assault rifles. So if we compare this to something like the HRM, the fire rate on it is 5.88. The KA-30 is 8.7. The MLX Mark IV is 7.52. The Nightshade is 9.9. The Sahara is 7.04. The Riptide is 9.17 and the Hydra is 9.76. The Bishop has a 5.35 fire rate, so it's dangerously close to being fired almost as fast as the Sahara to some extent. It definitely fires faster than the HRM and the Hydra, and it honestly does more damage output. The only limiting factor that the Bishop has over the HRM and the Hydra is the fact that it is a DMR, so it is a single tap weapon. You have to press the button every time you want to fire it, and the capacity, right? The Bishop at Legendary only holds a total of 18 shells within the magazine, whereas the HRM 30K has a mag size of 30. So you are gaining, what, 12 extra bullets with the HRM, but you also have to deal with the fact that there's accuracy loss associated with the HRM, and the fact that there are range limitations. The range on that is 25. The Bishop range is 24. It flirts the line once you add in Crackshot, once you add in Gunsmith, Legendary Gunsmith, for characters like Umbra that have access to DMRs and SMGs, then it kind of outperforms the HRM in a huge way. So overall, the Bishop is a very underappreciated and a very good DMR. It honestly flirts that line with assault rifles so closely that it could almost be pivoted into the assault rifle category, in my opinion, much like the Mamba could be, because it is a burst fire weapon. I understand why they want to keep it a single shot, but I do think that the Bishop is an absolute powerhouse within Rogue Company currently. Do they need to make any changes to the weapon? Do they need to adjust the weapon in any way whatsoever? And I would agree, and I would argue that yes, the Bishop itself needs to have some tweaks done to it, in my opinion. And the reason why is because of the hip fire accuracy. You're not losing ADS accuracy whenever you use the Bishop. If you want to compare the Bishop and the HRM 30K back to back, the Bishop's going to win every single time as long as those shots are good, whereas the HRM is a little bit less forgiving because it's a fully automatic weapon. But the Bishop, depending on the range and depending on the play style and all that stuff, is going to beat the HRM out 9 times out of 10. I mean, you're doing 40 headshot damage with the Bishop at Legendary, whereas with the HRM, you are doing 38. So the Bishop wins with headshot damage. The Bishop flirts the line of being close to the same range as the HRM is, and it has a better accuracy overall. They need to reduce the accuracy of the weapon, much like the DMR video that I made a couple of days ago. They need to adjust the accuracy of the DMRs, and the hipfire accuracy of the Bishop is insanely great because it is almost perfectly pinpoint accurate regardless of how far away they are. It's a very good, very tight hip fire spread, and that's the biggest issue with a lot of the DMRs in the game, is that hip fire spread is so incredibly tight that you can run those weapons at any range with any play style and be successful with them, because there's not really any limitations other than the fact that whenever you want to fire it, you have to press the button every single time you want to fire it. That's the only drawback to a lot of them. The Bishop is a fantastic weapon. Does it get outclassed by other DMRs? Absolutely, right? The D3DI absolutely outclasses it. The Mamba absolutely outclasses it. The MXR has a body damage of 32, whenever the Bishop has a body damage of 30, has a range of 32.5, where the Bishop has a range of 24. They both have the same mag size. The fire rate on the MXR is slightly slower. It's 4.88 compared to 5.37, but the handling on the MXR is better. So the MXR is going to be more accurate. It's going to be more reliable, even though you are going to be firing it somewhat slower. You're still going to get the offset of that damage versus, right? So if we look at it, we were doing what, 46 or 40 headshot damage. We're doing 42 headshot damage with the MXR with Dallas in the shooting range. So you absolutely see the trade-offs. The MXR and the Bishop are almost comparably balanced. There's a few changes. There's a few things that one does better than the other. That comes down to personal preference. And that's what I'll say. The DMRs are all very comparable to one another in terms of damage output and skill, right? Because there's definitely skill associated with using a DMR, but there's no limitations whenever you run those weapons. So people aren't punished for running DMRs in Rogue Company. And that's the biggest problem with the weapons. Even though they're probably the most balanced weapons in the game compared to one another, not compared to the other weapon classes, but compared to one another within that class, there's no limitations. And whenever you start comparing them to assault rifles, SMGs, light machine guns, things like that, then you definitely see why they're a step above everything else. And I understand it's a high skill level weapon, right? But within Rogue Company, with the way that aim assist works and things like that, you could honestly, anybody could pick up DMRs and be successful with them. If you're at least landing a headshot out of every couple of shots that you're shooting at someone, you're doing so much damage to them with the DMRs that it's absolutely insane. So honestly, I think that they need to make some adjustments, but the Bishop is a very underappreciated and a very underrepresented weapon within the game right now. And if you haven't ran it, please be sure to go and check it out. I suggest running it with Umbra, with Gunsmith, get that replenished. That way you never have to reload, you never have any downtime associated with a weapon, and just get out there and have some fun with it. But be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the Bishop? Have you ran it recently? And if so, are there any changes that you would make to the weapon in comparison to the other DMRs in the DMR class? Not across the board with comparing it to all the weapons, but specifically comparing it with the other DMRs. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, then consider hitting that join button to become one of the 256 crew members. Lastly, on Thursdays and also on Sundays, I will be streaming here on YouTube. So if you are interested and available, please feel free to stop by and say hello there. Thanks for watching, guys.
Fucking arbitrator.
Arbitrator.
On this map too, like, dude, so like you have to close that gap so hard. I'm gonna play one more and then I'm gonna go live. I guess I'm just gonna stay in Discord since